Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Believe it or not, I actually have some good news out of California today, leaving me pleasantly surprised. But before I get into the good news, today's video is sponsored by Blackout Coffee Company. I actually haven't been feeling well this week and am finally on the mend, but being a toddler mom means never really resting until the long hours of the night, so let me tell ya, I've never been happier to have my Blackout coffee. They taste great, their values are great, and their coffee works as hard as I do. To check them out and help support the channel, go to blackoutcoffee.com/libertydoll. Alright guys, this is an update to a video that I did in late June. And that story brought us to Imperial Beach, California, where home-based FFL Stephanie Gilreath, who had operated in the city for 6 years, applied for a business permit to open a brick-and-mortar shop and sent the city council into a panic. She was expanding her business to center more on sporting goods and apparel for women with a dash of firearms on the side, and the city council responded by putting a 45-day moratorium on all business permits for FFLs and gun sales within city limits, with the potential to extend that moratorium for up to 2 years. The purpose, they said, was to make up laws around how, where, and if they would allow gun shops in their commercial zones, and whether they would force FFLs and all of their employees to undergo yet another round of background checks just for the privilege of opening up shop. You see, Outdoor Woman was apparently set to be the first mixed-use retail shop in town to sell firearms ever, which is pretty believable for California, and to them was absolutely terrifying. Well, today I am shocked, absolutely shocked to tell you that not only did they end the moratorium after only 45 days, but they're also allowing Stephanie to open her shop. Did not see that one coming. Stephanie got the help of local gun rights group San Diego County gun owners to help the town figure it out and make sure they didn't exercise any more overreach than they already had. She says that despite many on the council being anti-gun, they seemed to all be working in good faith, which is stunning and a nice change. On Wednesday, August 2nd, the city held a meeting on the new proposed regulations. They were published for the public to read only a couple hours before the meeting, but Stephanie was able to go and speak publicly about the problems she had with the new regulations. The ordinance started out reading like something out of Nazi Germany, she told Bearing Arms, but with some discussion and understanding the implications of wording, changes were made, and the ordinance that passed last night is a great start. There are still parts that myself and many other firearm enthusiasts don't agree with, but through perseverance and education, I'm sure that we'll be able to work with the city and the community to overcome those obstacles. San Diego County gun owner spokesman Michael Schwartz said that the original version would have made it impossible for Stephanie to open her shop. Stephanie sent me the 12-page document herself, which was added as last-minute agenda information to the meeting. I'll read you a bit here. It is the purpose and intent of this chapter to establish a local program for the license and regulation of the sale, lease, or transfer of firearms or ammunition in a manner that protects the public health and safety. It is unlawful for any person, corporation, partnership, or other entity to engage in the business of selling, leasing, or otherwise transferring any firearm or ammunition within the city without a retail firearm ammunition permit as required by this chapter and a valid business license as required by Chapter 4.04. The next section is about the application for the permit, which requires a whole bunch of personal information, including a copy of the applicant's driver's license, passport, or other government-issued identification card bearing a photograph of the applicant, their FFL and California firearms dealer numbers, the address of the proposed location for which the permit is sought together with the business name, the names, ages, and addresses of all persons who will have access to or control of workplace firearms or ammunition, including but not limited to the applicant's employees, agents, and/or supervisors, if any, a certificate of eligibility from the California Department of Justice, a floor plan of the proposed business which illustrates the applicant's compliance with the security provisions outlined in Section 4.58.080, and now here we have Stephanie's First Amendment. Information relating to every retail license or permit to sell, lease, transfer, purchase, or possess firearms or ammunition, which was sought by the applicant or by any individual identified in subsection E of this section. Which means originally they wanted copies of everyone's gun licenses too. The next section really gets into some of the amendments that Stephanie and San Diego County gun owners were able to inspire. Like, for example, despite having to submit fingerprints, any relevant records, and personal information of not only the business owner applying for the permit, but also all potential employees, the city had originally wrote in their rule that they were going to do a full investigation for the protection of public health. The new version now says that instead the city will simply evaluate each applicant and, I'm assuming, those authorized to work with firearms as per state ATF or DOJ regulations. The grammar here is a bit strange and doesn't completely make sense, so we'll just have to assume that that's what they mean. Next, the original rule would also have required all employees to be 21 or older. Now it only requires those with authorized access to guns and ammo to be 21. Still annoying, but at least less restrictive. Other requirements are that the business be at least 500 feet from a school and 100 feet from a park, meet certain security requirements, and allow local law enforcement to inspect the property to make sure those requirements are met. These include securing all heating, air, ventilation, and service openings, and having any metal bars or grates inside the building rather than out, having all firearms locked in a safe or vault during non-business hours, and during regular business hours, having all guns either in a locked container, behind a floor-to-ceiling bulletproof barrier, or secured with a trigger lock. The building must also have video surveillance and an alarm system. All gun and ammo sales must be on video with the customer's face clearly visible, and all footage must be stored for a year in such a way that law enforcement can search it and enlarge it as needed. Originally, the requirement was going to be 3 years. The original document also said that the city or sheriff could also randomly decide to change security requirements without consulting the business owner, and not complying would result in a revoked permit. The new version says this can only be done with consultation with the business owner and only if there has been a breach of security. The section on liability insurance also underwent some changes, striking out the requirements to name all city officials, employees, and agents as additional insureds, for example, which would have been insane to have to carry an insurance policy for the entire city staff, and also striking the line about the city randomly being able to decide businesses need a bigger policy. The rules also ban anyone under 18 from entering the store without a parent or guardian if the only guns being sold are pistols or revolvers. If they're selling rifles, then under 21 is A-OK. These permits for the firearm business will have to be renewed every year, and the permit is basically a promise to allow not only ATF inspections and audits, but also state and city inspections from not only the sheriff, but also the city manager as often as 4 times a year. Stephanie did, however, secure an amendment that would make the 4473s and other documents only available to law enforcement. So that's something. All retail firearm establishments will also have to post all kinds of signage, including the phone number of a suicide hotline. While some of these requirements still seem overbearing, like city inspections every 3 months, I don't know the usual requirements for opening a gun shop because I don't own a gun shop. I couldn't tell you what's standard and what isn't, though things like an alarm system and security cameras seem like common sense. The important takeaway, though, is that through phone calls, letters, and hard work, Stephanie and the San Diego County gun owners were able to work with the anti-gun city council to allow at least some avenue for FFLs to open shop, within the shortest time limit possible, which is saying something. Honestly, some of these rules are not great, but I am pretty amazed. So that's it for this video. I always try to bring you updates when I can, and I certainly try to bring you good news, so this ticks off both the boxes. I hope you enjoyed this little update to Stephanie's story. You guys know the drill with all the algorithm things. And as always, thanks for tuning in and happy shooting.